For Calgary, Forest Lawn.
Well, if the Liberals' goals were to lack transparency, lack accountability, and lack control, the Auditor General confirmed that in her report today. Their legacy of mismanagement has made life more unaffordable, sending more Canadians to food banks than ever before. Record high food, rent, and mortgage costs are driven up by the Liberals' inflation. The more Liberals fail, the more Canadians have to pay. How many more Liberal failures are Canadians on the hook for?
The Honourable Minister of Families.
Mr. Speaker, we took important action when we understood that the high cost of living was having an impact on Canadians. And in fact, yesterday, Mr. Speaker, the Financial Post noted that our childcare policy has been a success. They said government policy has played a role in getting women back in the workforce, especially when it comes to childcare. Women feel confident going back into the workforce because they won't be spending their whole paycheck on childcare. Mr. Speaker, we are there for Canadians and we are delivering. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, the government will blame everyone else for their inflationary spending, but when the Auditor General confirms that a minimum of $32 billion in COVID overpayments and suspicious payments need more investigation, there is little argument that this mess added to inflation. The Auditor General has sounded the alarm bells on the lack of control on COVID spending. So lots of checks and no balances. And the government is continuing the same approach with current legislation, current programming. So I have one question. How can Canadians trust them?
The Honourable Minister of Tourism.
Mr. Speaker, I will get to the Honourable Member's question in a moment. I want to add my voice to those started by the Minister of Women and Gender Equality in this House today on the 33rd anniversary of École Polytechnique. I was a 19-year-old student at the U of A when word got to us about 14 women gunned down at École Polytechnique, and it became worse when we realized that this was motivated by hate and misogyny. We must do everything in this House to protect women and to end violence against women. And on the substantive question that the honourable colleague asked, millions of mothers who received CERB benefits did not cause inflation, and neither did the benefits, neither did the businesses who took supports so they could keep their doors open.
Well, Member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, we're not talking about those cases. Canadians deserve transparency about the $32 billion that the Auditor General says is just the tip of the iceberg of people who got money and it needs to be investigated. So Canadians deserve to know that there was no control when the money was going out, and now they learn that there's no control or accountability for taxpayers to get that money back. So when food bank use is at its highest rate and 1 in 5 Canadians are skipping meals, I'll ask again, how do Canadians trust them?
L'Honorable Ministre des Revenus.
Monsieur le Président, l'agence n'est
Mr. Speaker, the CRA does not agree with the Auditor General's calculation with regard to ineligible recipients to the wage subsidies. The CRA's calculations indicate that the people were highly compliant and that the Auditor General's figures were exaggerated. It's not her fault because we all know that she was pressed by the opposition to produce this report. Political games must not lead us to forget that the wage subsidy saved the economy and many people. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, according to a new report published yesterday, grocery costs are going to continue to rise in 2023. So annual spending for the average family is going to go up to $16,300, which is an enormous share of the family budget. Parents are already incapable of feeding their families, and now it's going to get worse. For Canadians, these price hikes are unaffordable. Can you believe it? In Canada, people can't afford to put food on their table or heat their homes. Will the Liberals pledge to stop their inflationary spending so that Canadians can afford to eat? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The difference between us and the Conservatives is that on this side of the House, we trust Canadians. We understand what Canadians need, and we're going to help them out either by giving them dental benefits or with daycare assistance. We trust Canadians, and we're going to be there to support them today and in future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. I can't believe that the member across the way gave us that kind of answer when we know that they're the ones who have lost control of public spending. The Auditor General confirmed that the government is wasted $32 billion in payments to ineligible recipients. People don't have any money. They're charging their groceries, and Liberals are wasting billions of dollars. So once again, will the Liberals show some compassion and cancel their tax hikes? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, this is based on compassion and fiscal prudence. That's our response. If we look at the facts, millions of mothers who received CERB, they're not the ones who created inflation. Thousands of businesses who took wage subsidies, they're not the ones who created inflation either. Mr. Speaker, if the Conservatives really want to help Canadians weather this difficult time, then they should do the right thing and vote for C-32, which is going to help Canadians.